Muted.
Good afternoon, guys. I'm David Thane from Egress. We'll start this webinar in around about 2 minutes, just at 3 o'clock. So give a couple of minutes for anyone else to join. Okay, good afternoon everyone. Let's start the webinar. Today our theme is how you can take a holistic approach to securely sharing electronic data. I'm David Thane, the Channel Marketing Manager from Egress, and I'm here with my colleague Elliot Collins. Thank you to Foursys who are hosting this webinar. And thank you to the team there for introducing us to today's audience and for partnering with Egress. I'm going to hand over immediately to Elliot, who's going to give you a very short introduction to Egress and to what we do, and then move very quickly into a demonstration of our key product lines.
Thank you, David. Hi there, this is Elliot Collins from Egress, and for today's webinar we're going to be looking at how your organisation can take a holistic approach to securely sharing electronic data. So as a data security vendor, we tend to see that there are a number of different trends within the market that drives organisations to encrypt. From the high-profile data breaches we see in the news every other week, to industry-wide regulation and to the planned changes coming into force with the EU GDPR, it's clear that information security is now at the front of organisations' mind and is a board-level issue that is more prominent than ever. 2015 was actually dubbed the year of the data breach, and it seems to be becoming a regular occurrence that organisations are on the front page for exactly this. However, although data breaches and regulation are probably the more prominent drivers, we are moving into a world where huge volumes of information is being shared digitally via email and file sharing applications. Online collaboration and automated file transfer also play a key part in this communication. This efficiency needs to be backed up with appropriate security measures to protect sensitive data. And hand in hand, this drives consumer confidence and reduces the risk of costs and reputational damage if a breach were to occur. To dig a little deeper into this, Egress made a FOI request to the Information Commissioner's Office for data on reported breaches comparing January to March 2016 to the same period in 2015. An alarming 66% of sectors have seen a rise in data breaches, and as we can see from these stats, although it is the smallest increase-wise, healthcare continues to be the top of the list for total number of reported incidents. There has been a 500% increase for courts and the justice sector, a 300% increase for insurance firms, and a 127% increase for solicitors and barristers. What is very interesting to see is the decrease in the education and local government space. So when we actually break this down further to identify the cause of these reported data breaches, we found that human error accounted for almost 2/3 of breaches, which has been the case consistently for previous years. But what do we actually mean by human error? Looking at this chart here, the biggest cause of this is actually information being sent to the wrong person. The key example that springs to mind here is the Bank of England breach, whereby the EU bailout plans were accidentally sent to a reporter with The Guardian due to an email address being typed incorrectly. And to mitigate this happening again, they simply turned autocorrect off in Outlook. What we can ascertain from all of this is that even if policy, security and protection is in place, it will have limited effect if it cannot account for human error. Egress exists to make it easier to address the risk of human error, and this is evident with many of the organisations we work with. A large proportion of our customers already had a number of tools and point solutions in place to secure the information they were sharing, but in isolation, these have limited success at reducing a data breach. At Egress, we take a holistic approach to information security and see information sharing as a journey. Every customer we work with will be at a different point in this data sharing lifecycle we can see here. But from the point of creation to sharing it internally with colleagues or externally with partners, customer and corporate data needs the appropriate levels of protection and security policies and applied to it. The Egress platform has products to help you manage this every step of the way, and our focus on user experience makes sharing confidential information easy. What we will also see from the next slide is that our system intelligence helps to mitigate the human error that users make, which in turn helps to address any potential threats or data breaches from happening in the first place. So what I'm going to move on to now is show you a bit more detail about the Egress Switch encryption services platform, run through a number of different service lines we offer, and then I'm going to move into a product demonstration of secure email and secure file transfer. So the Egress Switch platform is a platform that's designed to allow organisations to share any form of electronic information. This may be information that's leaving the organisation, information that's coming into the organisation, or even information that's being distributed internally. Egress have always strived themselves in being a security-focused vendor that doesn't offer encryption as an add-on, but has it as a core centralised functionality across all of our different service lines. We also offer a single community-based licensing model, which means all of our service lines that are on offer across all of our different customers within different sectors, there will be one single global identity to access a piece of secure information, whether this be via online collaboration, accepting a piece of information via email, or using the service to run e-discovery reports for internal data breaches. What's beneficial to organisations is that this single global identity means you don't have to train internal and external users on different solutions based on the different means of communication that they're receiving. For example, by using one point solution to collaborate on a piece of documentation and then sharing an email securely or a large file securely with a different solution, this may confuse internal and external users based on multiple different sign-ups and set of login credentials. With the Egress platform, it's designed to secure data throughout its lifecycle. The first part in this journey is actually understanding what information you hold, what is deemed as sensitive, and how will I classify my content. Following on from this, you will have the need to apply security to the information through rule-based DLP and encryption, and actually understand what is it you want to be sent. Once this has been done, it's all about managing the access to third parties or internal users that have actually sent the information and being able to provide high-level security and release of that content. What's key with Egress is that all information is encrypted at rest, allowing real-time reporting and analysis to a very granular level as to what is happening with information after it leaves the organisation. And this all ties into being able to feed back into the system's policy engine. By using intelligent trending, the system can learn around what data is leaving the organisation and apply appropriate and suggestive security into this. An example would be, say for example, if I myself were sending contracts to one of the account managers at Foursys for a number of weeks, I copy someone new in who's not privy to these conversations within my network of contacts. The software will recognise this and apply a policy to mitigate it being a risk by either encrypting the information or giving the user a prompt to say, are you sure you want to loop this person into the email? These features will all be evident based on what stage your organisation is on this journey. And the Egress platform has products that assist at each step along the way. By taking a step back, we can follow the whole data lifecycle and give organisations tools to protect data and remain in control of their sensitive information. As we can see from this final column here, the Egress switch solutions all tie into different parts of this data sharing lifecycle. The first being Egress switch email and document classifier. Using Egress classification, your organisation will be able to apply protective marking on any piece of information you hold. This is both for visually identifiable information and then the metadata within the file itself. Secure email and file transfer is the product that has been with Egress the longest and allows organisations to securely share pieces of information via email, internally or externally, or to share large files that exceed the allowable gateway limit. What's key with all of these service lines that I'm going to give a small detail on is their ease of use. So again, as well as striving ourselves on security, the key thing with Egress has always been ease of use for users. Secure workspace is moving more into the online collaboration space. So time and time again, we hear from customers and prospects that the likes of Dropbox or other unsecure cloud-based sharing sites are being used to store corporate information. Again, simply for ease of use, because Dropbox is the solution that is known as the consumer product within the marketplace. Secure workspace is seen as the secure alternative to this within the field we play in, and allows you as an organisation to securely collaborate and store documentation with a number of your third parties or suppliers. This doesn't just have to be external though. We can and we do see time and time again requirements for internal workspaces. That may be for board of directors needing a secure area to collaborate on board notes and meeting notes, or it may be for internal projects that require sign off from external suppliers, finance or legal departments. The secure managed file transfer piece moves more into the automated space and is a tool that allows an organisation to share bulk pieces of information from one site to another. The secure managed file transfer is moving away from the likes of having encrypted hard drives and getting a courier to move pieces of information from A to B. The automated file transfer piece within secure managed file transfer will allow that organisation to share these bulk pieces of information from one site to another, but it doesn't have to just be from server to server. We see a lot of requirements from our customers within the local government space, that require bulk emails to be sent out on a weekly and monthly basis that contain sensitive information. So the key example here would be if, for example, a department was sharing out 10,000 revenue and benefits forms, tax returns forms, or even internally 10,000 pieces of payroll information to their internal users. We can give them this tool to allow them to do so, and the authentication can tie in nicely to something along the lines of an employee number or a national insurance number. Moving on to secure email and file archive, this is the most recent solution we have released, which complements the existing Egress suite. This tool is already providing a number of benefits to our customers. The first being reduced mailbox size and allowing business continuity, where users can access historic and current email if their email infrastructure is down. Alongside this, it also allows you to meet compliance requirements. If you have to perform investigations, either something as simple, say, as a subject access request or other compliance requirements within the organisation, the email and file archive will make this a simple process to perform. I previously mentioned e-discovery. This can also be performed to monitor the flow of sensitive data, and we have a very complex tool within the infrastructure to allow you to look for potential data breaches and information that could be leaving in clear text and even in encrypted format. A key feature of this is that we support the indexing and searching capabilities of encrypted content, which will hopefully allow you to identify any legal risks your organisation may be in breach of. And again, as I mentioned before, the trending and analysis ties all of this together, and the advanced policy engine can make decisions all based on the types of information being shared internally and externally. To break this down further, just to give you an idea of how the service lines sit within the organisation, this slide gives a little more detail on the flexibility around the choice of control we offer with deployments. Now, whether your mail server is on-premise or hosted, we know every organisation is different. So we give the customer the choice in order to have complete transparency over where and how their data is handled. Typically, there are 3 options as outlined below. We offer fully on-premise, a hybrid option whereby Egress performs the key management in the cloud with the customer retaining the point of encryption and data storage on-premise, and then the option to have everything fully hosted. With regards to our cloud-based hosting, we can provide this on either a multi-tenanted or dedicated basis, and we have multiple options around data residency and cloud providers including US, UK and EU only options. Authentication is also very customizable. Internal users, we can provide SSO using ADFS or any SAML to identity provider service, and external recipients is all based on that Egress Switch ID I mentioned earlier. However, if required, additional layers of authentication can be added either automatically or on a rule-based DLP basis, potentially requiring recipients to authenticate using additional personal information such as ID numbers, a unique password, or even an SMS one-time code, which we see as quite a popular feature within the financial services space. But all of this, as well as the policy and control option, will be detailed in the product demonstration I'll be showing on secure email and file transfer. Before I move on to the email and file transfer product demonstration, just a reminder that I can answer any questions you may have in the text box in the GoToWebinar, or there will be some short time at the end whereby I can cover off any questions you may have on what you've seen. So if I move on to the product demonstration here, just as a note, for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to be using my Outlook client, but we do offer full integration into Outlook 365, Google Apps, Citrix, but as I say, for the purpose of this, I'm just going to be using my Outlook client here. So if I just pull this up my Outlook up here. Apologies, I'll just enable my... There we go. So as we can see, as a user that is signing in, putting up my Outlook client here, when I select new email, there are a number of added security extensions we can see on the top left-hand side. Now, everything I'm showing you here is completely customizable, so it doesn't have to be a one-ball-fits-all across the organization. By using a group policy, we can actually apply different policies and customizations to different departments within the organization, or even tie it down to a specific user level. So in its simplest form, the Egress Switch client would look something like this. We know not every single email is going to require the need for encryption, so by default, your day-to-day emails, there's going to be no protection applied. We can see up here we have this option which says unprotected. But as the user here, if I feel that I need to send a piece of sensitive information via email, I simply click this box and it gives me the option to encrypt these message and any subsequent attachments that we have on here. Now I mentioned this was all completely customizable, so by signing into a different account, I'm just going to show you a number of the different drop-downs and policies that I actually have in place here. We find this is extremely beneficial, again, for different departments in the organisation. We know there may be different policies that a legal department might have compared to a finance department, and there may be different pieces of information that you require the software to pick up on. So just before I move into these policies, just to give you a bit more detail about these other two buttons here, this message restrictions, this actually allows you to put a time restriction on any piece of information you're sharing. So if, for example, I was sharing some time-sensitive quotations or legal contracts, I can put a valid from and valid until date here. Marketing departments within the organisation can also use this for press releases. They could put an embargo on any piece of information they're sent to say this information is only valid from this day until this day. The button on the right there, attach large files, this is the secure file transfer piece of the solution. So by simply clicking this box here, we can see it pulls up this option on the right hand side to attach large files to this email. Again, it's integrated into Outlook, which makes it nice and easy for the users. We can drag and drop files in here, or simply add files and folders by clicking this button here, and this will allow me to share information above my allowable gateway limit. Now, what's quite important here is where this information resides is a location of your choice. So essentially what's going to happen is the information is going to be compressed, encrypted, and sent securely to maybe one of your own internal SFTP servers, to the secure Egress cloud storage. But in the users and the recipient side, it's just going to be sent and received as a normal email. Once I've sent a few emails here, I will move on to the recipient experience. But moving back onto this area here with regards to the drop-down policies, you'll notice that when I select this option, I actually now have a number of rather more detailed drop-downs which I as the user can use to share information. And all of these drop-downs have different policies applied and give different actions based on exactly how I want this information to be sent. So we can see this is based on my classifications I have within the organisation of confidential internal, confidential external, and secret. And by selecting each one of these options, it will apply a different rule based on the sort of information I'm sharing. So just an example here, if I was to send a confidential internal email to my demonstration account, pop some information in the message body there, simply click send. We see I can't send that because it's blocked it to external recipients. But then when we select the external, I'll click send. What's going to happen there is it is going to encrypt the information and send it securely to the recipient there. Again, these drop-downs are all customizable and can be in relation to different departments within the organisation, but at the end of the day we can't always rely on that user actually making the choice as to how they want to send certain pieces of information securely. So picking up on those policies I was detailing earlier, we have a very clever policy engine that can pick up on, for example, domain, IP address. So if, again, I'm sending a piece of information to a personal email address at gmail.com, I have a policy within this that says anything going to @gmail.com, it's just going to be automatically encrypted. So we can see there's no encryption on there, but when I click send, it picks that up and it's being classified as encrypted in the message body and attachments. But going a bit deeper into those policies, we can actually use these to educate users within the organisation, to give them reminders to say certain information within this message body or attachment has been detected, and it could give them a reminder to say, are you sure you still want to send this information in clear text? So again, if I was to go ahead and send a patent to an external client and I leave that as no encryption on there, when I actually click send, it's going to pick up those pieces of information within the patent and say this confidential external information has been found in this email, please classify the email accordingly. So I can actually make a choice here and say, okay, I know that every time I'm sending a document similar to that, I'm going to have to apply a certain policy on there. But what's also key here is the ability to apply that multi-layer authentication. So if, for example, we was to go ahead and share a business report, as we can see here, the software can actually pick things up within the message body to say this is going to be the additional password. So for example, if we actually look amongst all of this Latin, we can see we've got some personal identifiable information there, an account ID, and then a case ID. My policy picks up that it's actually going to use the case ID as the additional password in this example here. Click OK, that is encrypted and sent off securely. Based on the information we're sending as well, we can also apply policies that apply watermarking. So it really limits what the recipient can do with this information and apply read-only reports. So we could say you can only read this, you can't forward, download, save, or screen grab any of the message body or attachments. So a final example of something we're going to send here is, for example, a contract. I will go ahead and put the contract in here. Please see the latest version. Attached. regards, Elliot, just to fill out that message body there. Click send, and that is going to be encrypted with view-only access. So that's really what it looks like for the recipients within the organisation. Again, I've been showing you a couple of these drop-downs, but we have a long list of different policies that can be applied to a business account, all customised based on your organisation's requirements. So to have a look at the recipient experience here, we can see some of those emails we sent today. I guess we only need to really look at one or two of them. We don't really have to dive into a lot of detail on all of these. If we just look at this, for example, email test I sent here, there are a number of different ways that recipients can access information. We have free client software that can be downloaded for high usage recipients. We have mobile apps that can allow recipients to access information on the go, but 9 times out of 10 recipients use our zero footprint web access client. An email will come in similar to this, but it would be customized to your own organization's color schemes, logos, texts. I click to read the secure email online. I'd be prompted to sign in with my Egress Switch ID, just to show you what it looks like as a new user. Simple process, email, first name, last name, password, security questions. You receive an activation link, and you would be part of the Egress Trust Network there. I obviously have already got an account on here, so I'm going to sign myself in. That's just going to validate my credentials, and we can see I've received this information, which is a free recipient I can reply back to, and moving forward I can actually initiate communications with your organisation as a free recipient, and all of this is going to be encrypted and secure. Again, to look at the different ways that we can change the authentication piece round, by looking at this business report, we can see we can make it a lot more simple for the recipients accessing information. So with the policies on this one, I simply have to put the case ID as such, submit that in there, and we can see I've been given to that piece of information there. We find with our NHS and private healthcare clients, this is a policy that's used quite frequently with regards to patient numbers. And then finally, that read-only access is key if you are working on information that you really want to apply additional layers of security on. So just by looking at this before we move on to the auditing side of things, what you can see again, we have an additional layer of authentication via a disclaimer, which would obviously be customized to your data protection policies, data sharing agreements. But you'll notice here that all of this information within this email and the attachments themselves are actually locked down. So I actually can't copy any of this, I can't highlight any of this. Even if I try and move it out of the way of the watermark across there and print screen or click off of this to make a screen grab, you can see it just renders it all grey in the web browser. So there are some pretty neat policies that we can apply with regards to every single piece of information that's being shared. Finally, what I just wanted to quickly show you is the auditing behind the software itself. So by going back into my Outlook client, by selecting that set packages, I'm going to get a complete list of live auditing of every single piece of information that we've shared today. And this is going to be a lot more detailed than the usual red receipt you usually see when sending an email. So if, for example, we look at this business report we sent, by double clicking that, I still do have a full list of audit events. So if we just have a look at here, we can see point by point what's happening with all of this information, the user that's accessing it. In the properties, I mentioned the information is always encrypted at rest. This is the area where you have that lifetime control over the information. So if we still feel we need to apply these valid from and valid until dates, we can. I can actually change the classification on here if required. But the biggest security benefit here really is the ability to get information back. So I'm not sure if anyone's ever actually used the revoke option in Outlook, but it simply sends you an email to say, please don't read the previous email, which in turn probably makes you want to read the previous email. But if I come in here and click revoke, click OK, if I was to attempt to log into this again, we'll see it's simply going to tell me that access to this message has been denied because it has been revoked. And again, that can be done by simply clicking these buttons at the top here to make it even simpler than before. In real time, I can unrevoke that, and that piece of information will be live for the user again. If this was sent to a list of, say, 20 users, we can just remove individuals. And then just to really clarify these audit events here, we can see that that's been updated in real time. Not only what's happening with the information, but where it's happening. If I was to click one of these options here, we can see the location via the IP address, as well as the client that's being used. So from a security and compliance perspective, it can really drill down on a granular level exactly what is happening with the information. And this panel here won't just be for, is just for individual users. As an administrator of an account, you will have a similar administration panel where you will have control over all of the information that's being shared, and you'll be able to detail all of the users as a whole. Conscious of time here, we've just hit 3:30, so that is me pretty much finished giving a basic overview of the email and file transfer demonstration. If anyone has time, I am open now to any questions you may have. If I just pull the last few of these up here, apologies for the black screen there. Seems my computer's playing games with me. But yeah, if there's any more questions for myself now, please do feel free to ask. Alternatively, if you would like any more information on Egress, feel free to visit the website www.egress.com or contact your Foursys account manager, who will be able to provide any additional information, case studies, data sheets, or alternatively arrange a follow-up call, WebEx or meeting for us to talk about Egress and the different service lines in a bit more detail.